I was working in the garden right now and I was reflecting on how much progress I've had in my homestead and how long it took me to get started, and all my hesitations were before I got started. And I was thinking about, for all of you newcomers to the homesteading gardening world, what were things that would have been beneficial for me to hear when I was first starting or researching and wondering if I could even do it, because I remember it was so overwhelming. And all these pros just have it down and make it look easy, but at the same time, when you don't have experience, it looks really hard and it can be very intimidating because you don't know where to start. You don't know what's the right path for you or what's the right way to do it, which there is no right way. It's different for every person. And so I was just thinking, what are some of those things that would have helped me get started to be more comfortable with this move? And so today I just wanted to talk to you about how you can set achievable homestead goals, especially if you're working full-time or have other obligations that you can't commit to this full-time, or you don't want to do it full-time. So we're going to talk about prioritizing tasks, how to pick the right task, different time management skills, and all that stuff to help get you started on your journey to homesteading. Hi, I'm Tiff, the Informal Farmer, and if you're interested in this content or more content like it, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Be sure to stick around till the end of the video, where I'm going to share with you the top 10 activities that you can do for your homestead while you still work a full-time job. The first thing I want to talk about is prioritizing your goals. Aligning your goals with your time that you have available or time you're willing to commit and the resources that you have or can put into this venture. So if you're like me and you work a full-time job and have kids, you might not have or want to have a lot of extra time to commit to this. Or maybe you're retired and you're ready to go full-time into homesteading and really want this to be your hobby and your full-time passion. Or you might fall somewhere in between, and that's fine. Just determine where you are, what time you have available, and what resources. As far as resources, if you're living in an apartment, there's still ways you can start homesteading and start practicing. Or if you live on an acre like me, there is a ton you can do. And if you have more than an acre and you're just getting started, you have lots of room to grow. You might have goals that are more geared towards growing your own fruits and vegetables, or raising your own chickens, or raising bees, or meat animals. That's all fine. But homesteading also is about sustainability and environmental stewardship. You also might be interested in fine-tuning some DIY skills. I know something that we do here a lot on our homestead is woodworking, but we've also done a lot of bricklaying and landscaping. So there's a lot of different DIY projects that you could use on the homestead, and then you can get even more artistic and creative as far as, making homemade cleaners, detergents, beauty products, and then DIY as far as like canning and preserving foods as well. That's just a few ideas of some different goals you might have for yourself in homesteading. You just have to determine which ones you would like to do, how passionate you are about them, and then prioritize. Like, if you are super passionate about having a cow for milk, it might be beneficial to know that when you have a cow and milk, you have to milk them twice a day. And when you're first learning how to do it, it could take up to an hour a day each milking session to do it. Me personally, I don't have 2 hours a day to spend milking a cow, and that's a lot to ask someone when I take a vacation or need a day off. So I haven't taken that huge leap yet. I know people that have, and it works for them. Just for me, myself, my family, and my homestead, and my availability as far as time and resources, I'm not there yet. So think about the tasks that you want to do and how much time they take and how much time you have available. Once you've determined what those goals are, you're going to start writing them out as SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T, that they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So specific, meaning that you have a specific goal of, I want to start vegetable gardening. Well, what types of vegetables? What vegetables grow well in your area? And then it needs to be a measurable goal. So you might say that you want to have a certain number of vegetables or a certain sized garden so that you can measure your progress along the way. You want to make sure that they are achievable goals, because you don't want to, yes, you want to set your goals high, but you need to break them down into smaller steps along the way so that they are achievable, so you can make progress as you go. They need to be relevant as far as, do they contribute towards your major end goal? Does it help get you towards your goal of 100% sustainability? Is it going to keep you moving in the right direction? And lastly, they do need to be time bound. So as intimidating as it sounds, you should give yourself deadlines. And it is definitely okay to change those deadlines and modify them as you go along, as you will be doing with your goals. You'll be rewriting them from start to finish as things change in your life, or things come up, or you realize maybe you don't want to do a vegetable garden, or maybe you don't want to spend 2 hours a day milking a cow, whatever it is. So it's okay to change them, but you have to write them down so that you can track your progress. The next topic to talk about when it comes to homesteading is flexibility. So I kind of just mentioned it in talking about goal setting and rewriting your goals and reevaluating them and tracking your progress, is that in homesteading, you really should be flexible, and also you should be patient and give yourself some grace, because you're practicing, you're learning how to be self-sufficient and sustainable and raise animals and grow vegetables. It takes time and practice. So be flexible. Don't be too hard on yourself. It takes practice, and you're never going to get to where you think you should be until you start practicing. Also, if you're like me and you want to homestead, but you also work a full-time job and you don't want to give up that day job, or you can't give up the day job, or you have kids, or you're taking care of a loved one, whatever it is that this does take time. You can do it in your free time. I do it in my free time. I work a 9 to 5, plus with commute and dropping off and picking up my kids and taking care of them. And I still manage to have a homestead. But it takes dedication and hard work and passion and drive. I'm not just doing this because someone told me I should do it. I do it from my heart, and it's really what I want to do. And so I am able to get out in the yard after a long day at work, or on the weekends, or on the hot days, or on the rainy days, because it's something that I want to do and I'm passionate about. So I definitely have to utilize my evenings, weekends, and have to get up before work to take care of the animals. Now, once you get started homesteading and get things up and running, you're going to learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you, but there are lots of tips and tricks I can give you along the way that to help save time, maximize your time, and allow you the time to focus on things that are more important and tedious, and not have to worry about things like hand watering your garden 2 or 3 times a day. So what I have here, for example, is an automatic water timer. And so I use this to help water my garden beds. So 3 times a day in the summer months, my water turns on at the time I tell it to. It stays on for as long as I tell it to, and then it shuts off, and then it switches to the next bed. So I have this set up on all of my fruit trees, my vegetable gardens, and my berry bushes. This makes it seamless for me, and this saves me so much time because I'm not having to be out there hand watering everything, slow soaking my fruit trees. This takes all of the thought out of it for me. Other automation tasks you can have is self-waterers for your livestock. I also have lights that run alongside my property so that when I come out in the yard at 5 in the morning and it's dark, I have lights that are already on for me, and they're on while I'm out, and they're set on a timer, so when I'm done, they turn off. So it's nice for me and nice for my neighbors. There's plenty of other tasks that you can automate. There will be more on that later on. So when you're first starting your homestead, it could be tricky to decide what tasks are going to be best for you to start with. And I would recommend starting with some high impact activities, something where you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck or time, and that you're going to see quick results so that you're not discouraged along the way. So when raising meat pigs, we got our first breeding pair, and they needed to be about 18 months old before we can breed them, and then they're pregnant for about 4 months. And then those babies need to be raised for another year to year and a half before you can harvest them. So it's not such like a high impact, a high reward activity. Well, it is a high reward, but it takes a long time for that to happen. So I would recommend starting with something like chickens, because they can start laying eggs in just a couple months, or you can buy a mature chicken and start getting eggs the next day. And vegetable gardening, peas, beans, radishes, lettuces, they all grow pretty quickly. Also, if you start with herbs, and you can already buy established herb plants like I have here, rosemary and oregano, that you can start using them in your kitchen the next day. So it gives you more of that motivation, more return on your investment immediately, so that it will help you feel encouraged to keep going and try new things. It's most important that you're going to actually enjoy this process, and that has to start with valuing it inside. Like, what's inside of you that makes you want to do this? What's your drive? What's your motivation? And if you haven't found that yet, maybe you could start researching more about the benefits of homesteading. I'll link that up here as well, where I made a video about the benefits of homesteading and why you should get started with a homestead if you haven't found that passion already. So today we were talking about how to set achievable homestead goals, especially if you're working full-time, breaking those goals down, getting comfortable with failure and expecting it so that it doesn't stop you from moving along in your homestead goals. So lastly, what I want to share with you are the top 10 activities that you can do to homestead while you work a full-time job. So number 1 is gardening, be it vegetable gardening or fruit gardening. And that brings me to number 2, which is composting. Especially if you have animals, all that manure can be turned into gold for your garden. Or you can just use green glass clippings and dried leaves to help make your compost. When you have a gardening abundance, that brings me to number 3 of canning and preserving your foods. I also mentioned number 4, raising chickens. You get a high return on your investment quickly. Number 5 is beekeeping. It's very common for people who work a full-time job to do beekeeping. Granted, it does take time and money to get it started, but they kind of keep themselves going. Number 6, as far as environmental stewardship, is rainwater collection, which you can do no matter where you live. Number 7 is vermicomposting, composting with worms. You can do that in as tiny of a space or as big of a space as you want. Number 8, I kind of mentioned, you can make homemade cleaning products. Number 9 is a DIY project of building raised garden beds or building structures around your property. And number 10 is always learning new skills, researching, attending conferences, or whatever it is to keep learning about homesteading. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. You got this.